Hello and welcome to this week's edition of AAN News. I'm Lily Kim. A small portion of reconstruction has already begun along the Dan Ryan, but drivers are already feeling the pinch. It's the final year of reconstruction along the Dan Ryan. Spokesperson of Illinois Department of Transportation Mike Claffey says it was something badly needed.
Because the Dan Ryan was over 40 years old. It was opened in 1962. The pavement was crumbling, and we're replacing it with a brand new, beautiful, wider, safer expressway that's built for the 21st century.
This year's work involves resurfacing the outbound elevated areas from Roosevelt to 31st Street and of the local lanes in both directions from 31st Street to 71st Street. In addition, lanes will be reconstructed both directions from 71st Street to the Bishop Ford and I-57. The reconstruction is affecting all routes inbound, so everyone should be expecting delays. But IDOT has some tips.
The best alternate really is to take mass transit. We're encouraging people to take the red line, take the green line, take the orange line. Those are 3 subway lines. Also, Metra has service from south. The South Shore line from Indiana, that's a great option. There's even bus lines. Pace has express bus service to the city. Try to carpool.
Now those driving to Chinatown will have to find alternate routes.
If you're coming inbound, the ramp to the Chinatown feeder, that is open, but drivers have to keep all the way to the left on the inbound Dan Ryan Expressway. So the far left lane will take you to the Chinatown feeder and Lakeshore Drive. You're coming on the outbound Dan Ryan. Right now, the entrance from 12th Street, Roosevelt Road, that is closed for about 6 weeks. Also, the exit to 18th Street that would take you to Chinatown, that is closed.
But not to worry too much, the 18th Street ramp will reopen mid to late April. But mostly IDOT wants
cars off, trucks on.
They don't want trucks to be taking the local lanes through residential areas or getting stuck under viaducts. Keep in mind the construction zone is 45 miles per hour and tickets are steep.
A speeding ticket is $375 for a first offense, $1,000 for a second offense. Also, there's photo enforcement on the Dan Ryan.
Illinois State Police said they're really stepping up the patrols to really monitor the construction zones. A sad end for friends and families of the 3 students who died in a fatal crash during spring break. Funerals for 20-year-old Cindy Kim and 19-year-old Karen Chang were held this weekend. 20-year-old Tommy Choi's funeral arrangements are still pending. The fatal accident happened around midnight last Wednesday. The car that they were in spun out of control on Lower Wacker Drive, smashed into a steel column, and burst into flames. According to medical examiner's office, Choi and the backseat passenger died after inhaling toxic fumes from the fire. Friends said Choi was driving the 2 girls home after dinner in Chinatown when the accident occurred. Choi and Kim attended Northern Illinois University. 19-year-old Karen Chang was at Purdue. We live in an era where America lives with bad habits, and Chicago's Department of Streets and Sanitation is ready to take charge. AAN now takes you to Chinatown, one popular tourist site where dirtiness is not going to be tolerated. Chicago's Chinatown attracts thousands of tourists a year, and the city of Chicago is cracking down on its streets.
We can actually rewrite a citation after 24 hours.
Citations with fines about the condition of the exterior of your business.
Complete perimeter check, the front and the rear. She's looking for key things. Her team is looking for overflowing dumpsters. Dumpsters that haven't moved. Grease traps aren't sealed. Debris around your doors, possible rodent infestation. Those things draw you in.
Many store owners may confuse whose responsibility it is for business appearance.
You as a businessman or business person is held responsible for this. Not Chamber of Commerce, not your alderman, not your whatever. You as a businessman, you open a business, you need to take responsibility of your surrounding area.
Polluted storefronts and rears will give the Department of Streets and Sanitation to not only fine you, but to call in another agency.
Like I told you, if you see that outside, I guarantee it's inside. It's inside. So that draws you in, and then that starts a whole different game.
That's when the Department of Health will come in. Spokesperson Bob Myers did state Chinatown has made much improvement since past years, but is also advocating to make cleanliness part of our culture.
We travel throughout the community, throughout the city. to try to change the culture of what people are accepting. It's not acceptable to have dirty streets.
A Chicago woman is arrested on charges of overbilling millions of dollars, which $500,000 went to Governor Blagojevich's campaigns. Her husband, the driving force behind her drug screening company, 60-year-old Amrish Mahajan. Now, this president of Mutual Bank is facing authorities. Investigations are searching how Mahajan kept its long-standing state contract despite troubles with taxes, licensing, and years of alleged fraud. Records reveal that the company was built on Mahajan's deep Chicago political connections and with the governor's family. Blagojevich acknowledged the relationship but says there's none now. The banker helped organize more than a dozen fundraisers for Blagojevich. At least $300,000 were from the customers, with more than $70 million in loans from his bank. Wife Anita's arrest came after raising questions of an over $100,000 real estate commission to Patty Blagojevich earned through the couple. Chicago is known to have one of the best public transportation systems in the nation, but with the ongoing upgrades and repairs, the city's thinking otherwise. As the Chicago Transportation Authority gears up to improve its facilities, commuters are outraged of reduced services and delays. Our Don Tagala hopped onto one CTA train to find out what's going on.
With the ongoing CTA train stations upgrade around Chicago, commuters are outraged by the impact of these constructions. CTA is working around the clock, causing delays and overcrowding, particularly during peak travel hours.
When are the track maintenance crews going to learn to work more efficiently?
Concerned about the public outcry, CTA has launched community meetings to better serve the public.
And so coming here tonight, I'm hoping to figure out if there has been any updates. I've been on the website, but my expectations were to hear from administrators of CTA to see what solutions, what their progress are, and if they're going to listen to the students and hear the community concerns as well.
More constructions are underway. Fullerton and Belmont stations are up for platform widening. Brown Line, Red Line, and Purple Line commuters will feel the service reduction impact beginning next month. To continue providing service while repairs are ongoing, the CTA has reduced its operations to 3 tracks instead of 4 during constructions.
So this is part of an ongoing construction project. It's going to be going on through 2009. When it's done, we'll have a lot more capacity on the Brown Line, and that means we'll be able to carry a lot more customers more conveniently. So we appreciate people's understanding of this.
Yeah. On a positive note, I feel like they're doing a great job by at least that they're doing something about it. They're fixing up, they're making the stations, they're renovating all the stations, but at the same time, the delays are just ridiculous sometimes, especially during the rush hour when rush hour, like, delays are just horrible. It's like it'll take it twice as long to get home.
CTA President Frank Cruzzi advises commuters to prepare for the new constructions to reduce its impact.
Well, the bottom line suggestion is that if you ride at the peak of the rush hour in the morning and particularly in the afternoon, it's good if you can figure out an alternative route, either on buses or a different rail line, or travel at a different time, because the hardest thing is going to be lots of people trying to get on these trains, and there'll be fewer trains on the Brown Line in that area, and the Red Line, because we can't put as many through with only 1 track going northbound as we would with 2 tracks. And so there are alternatives. We encourage people to contact the CTA.
Commuters are left with no choice but to adjust and come up with their own alternatives.
It definitely will mean better planning on my part and trying to figure out what my alternatives are coming from the west suburbs. I am limited to how to get into the city.
While CTA stations undergo constructions to better serve the public, commuters may have to leave early or leave late to avoid overcrowding, particularly during rush hours, a sacrifice commuters may have to face until the CTA modernization is completed. Don Tagala, AAN News.
And there's more trouble for CTA. The state's top auditor said in its first report that Illinois' mass transit system is in serious financial crisis, reaching into the billions. Auditor William Holland announced problems seen with the CTA, Metro, and PACE. The audit uncovered CTA's $45 million a year in cost related to absenteeism. The most serious problem is with Metro. Though ridership is up, costs are rising 3 times the rate of revenue. Holland says even if Metro were to double fares, it wouldn't even come close to covering the shortfall. Overseas financial disputes with North Korea are resolved. According to top U.S. nuclear envoy Christopher Hill, this will clear the way for the communist country's nuclear program. Hill's remarks came after the U.S. asked American financial banks to sever ties with a Macau-based bank because of its ties with North Korea's illicit activities and money laundering. North Korea has yet to take any steps. Hill quotes, "I think they want assurance that the financial issue is resolved," end quote. Hill expressed confidence that North Koreans will fulfill their commitment under the disarmament. Pyongyang has to shut down and seal its key nuclear facilities and have the processes verified by inspectors within 2 months. The agreement is signed by the 2 Koreas, the U.S., China, Japan, and Russia, in exchange for an additional 950,000 tons of heavy oil or other economic and humanitarian aid. Chicago's immigrant rights activists are back on the streets and protesting until a much-awaited bill is passed. While lawmakers had the chance to pass the immigration reform bill last year, midterm elections got in the way. The bill is still pending in Congress. AAN's reporter Don Takala was downtown last week to bring you this story.
A year after the historic Chicago march that inspired massive demonstrations across the nation, they are back on the streets. At least 2,000 immigrant rights activists joined the protest at the Federal Plaza in downtown Chicago. Their demands: to stop the immigration raids and to push for the pending immigration reform.
Congress did not finish the job last year. They had a wonderful opportunity to do so, but they didn't do it. So that has motivated a lot of people to take to the streets again, to push Congress to finish the job this year.
That, we will continue and keep coming together over and over as long as this issue is resolved.
Today's protest may not be as massive as last year's, but immigrant groups say they are determined more than ever to push for the pending immigration bill, whether in the form of Congress lobbying or marching down the streets of Chicago again. With the bill already pending in Congress, immigration coalition leaders say this is now the time for lobbying.
There certainly is a place for the kinds of mass activities like last Saturday's protest, but our main focus and where we're putting a lot of our energy and attention right now is on the calls to the congressmen, the meetings with the congressional staffers, the briefings for the congressional staffers, all of that other kind of more intensive work.
But many still prefer mass actions over lobbying.
This is the largest way to get our voices heard. Very few people have the ability to go lobby. They have to work, they have to provide for their families. Public protest is a legitimate and legal form of having your voice heard. And so we want to use that venue because some people would have us not mobilize in public.
Organizers did not expect these protests to be as big as last year's, but they say that this is critical in drumming up support for a new national mobilization on May Day. Don Tagala, AAN News.
Still to come, we'll reveal how one Filipino artist revived an art technique lost long ago, find out what one police district did to break racial barriers, and our Elaine Lowe talks to a famous Asian playwright about his golden child. All up next on AAN. Last week, our Ingrid Yanada and Don Tagala went inside illegal boarding houses in Chinatown. What they found in the apartments were filthy beds and suitcases of illegal workers waiting for jobs. One of them said on camera this was the way to make his dream of a better life a reality. Meanwhile, landlords of these boarding houses are making a fortune, at the same time violating safety standards and residential zoning permits. Despite numerous calls, the Department of Building didn't respond to our request for an interview. Our Ingrid Yanada is still working on getting Chinatown's alderman to talk about the issue. We'll bring you the complete story next Monday. A unique fan club got what they asked for. KBC-TV from South Korea was so intrigued by this group that they made a documentary on Chicago's Korean drama fan club. Surprisingly, none of them are Asian, but it's their love for the Korean culture that brought KBC-TV to this fan club's party.
The party was held after someone from KBS Seoul by the name of Jaeon Kim wrote a message on the fan board. It says, "We are going to make a program about foreigners who like Korean culture. We really want to take film of your club." The discussion board was then flooded by messages. One posting said, "Sounds exciting. Isn't this what we have been asking for?" And in just a few weeks, a producer from KBS-TV came and videotaped this party. This church on Chicago's northwest side is the place where fan club members can finally meet folks like Sophie Grams and Kathleen 34 in person. The combination of Korean literature, food like kimbap, pizza and chips showed why this group is one of a kind.
시카고에 그 한국 드라마를 좋아하는, 특히 역사 드라마를 좋아하는 동호회가 있다고 해서 온라인으로 먼저 뵙고 찾아뵙게 됐습니다. 단지 드라마만 좋아하는 게 아니라 이렇게 드라마를 보고 즐기면서 이분들이 저희 한국 문화, 역사를 알고 있다는 게 참 흥미롭고 저희한테는 굉장히 그 한국 문화를 널리 알릴 수 있는 기회인 것 같아서 취재하게 됐습니다.
Dozens showed up and shared about why they love Korean dramas.
Korean dramas are more credible. You know, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they're in American soap operas. They're dressed in cocktail dresses and their hair is just right. 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Korean story, they're doing regular things like we are.
The respect of the children for the parents and the grandparents. That's one of the things I really, truly love about Korean culture.
My favorite dramas are probably Chill Sisters.
I guess my favorite from what I remember is Ying Sun Shin.
The fan club was featured last Wednesday in Korea on KBS-TV's documentary called Wednesday Special. And you can catch the show right here on KBC-TV's Wednesday Report that airs midnight Thursday next month. Ingrid Yanada, AAN News.
Thanks to one Filipino artist of Illinois, a once-lost ancient art technique can now be found. You can catch the Filipino-style art called Kut-Kut at the Skokie Public Library until the end of the month. AAN brings you this story.
It was lost in the 1800s, but this ancient Filipino art technique called Kut-Kut or etch can now be found in Skokie, Illinois. Known as a revival artisan, Filipino-American artist Freddie Aces revived Kut-Kut here in the U.S. He claims to be the only master practitioner of this lost art in North America.
My father is also an artist in a way, and he actually showed me how to do this. I figured, okay, let's revive it. So I started reviving this as part of my agenda, as giving back to our country, how I could promote our culture in some way or another.
Created by ancient Filipinos, Kut-Kut seems like an exquisite but meaningless weave of colors, strokes, and textures. But within this intricate weave lie hidden stories, stories that can only be expressed through this art. Each painting is a painstaking process of layering and scratching that could even take months to finish. This Filipino art is a combination of techniques adapted by ancient Filipinos from other cultures.
Kut-Kut itself is like a combination of different artworks from Asia and also Europe. And what happened is that the natives kind of combine them together because they cannot afford those paints and things like that, so they use nature, like grasses and stones and leaves and sap trees, and sometimes blood. They use that to create some artwork.
Freddie Ace's current exhibit at the Skokie Public Library caught the attention not only of the local community, but of other artists as well.
The artwork is outstanding. I really like it. And I'm glad that Mr. De Asis was able to introduce it way back from the 15th century up to the present time.
His success as an artist also caught the attention of the Arlington Heights city government. He was recently named their arts commissioner.
Well, we should be proud of him. I think he's the only, I think he's the only Filipino-American in the commission right now in Arlington Heights, and we're very proud of him.
My vision right now is to get the involvement of the community itself to get more inclusive rather than exclusive. Because recently the commission itself, they're just focusing on certain arts, but the way I kind of perceive, it would be a lot better if we could have the Asian community also involved, and also the other members of the community be included in decision making.
In the next few months, with the help of the Philippine Consulate in Chicago, Freddie Aces will be touring this exhibit in different cities across the U.S. and Europe. Don Tagala, AAN News.
Admission to the Lost Art exhibit is free. The library is located at 5215 Oakton Street in Skokie. For more information about the artist, you can log on to www.f-day-assist.com. The 14th Dalai Lama will be in Chicago this May. His Holiness is coming to teach how to cultivate deeper values of compassion and kindness. It's what he advocates as he travels the world. Though tickets are sold out for his morning event, you can still catch His Holiness. The second event is at 1 o'clock and is entitled Finding Inner Peace in a World Full of Turmoil. Tickets are $10 and available through Ticketmaster, but come early to Millennium Park. Because of his VIP stature, extra security measures will be taken, so allow enough time to go through strict security. Chicago police did something special to unite their neighborhood. The 9th District Police Department and the Valentine Boys and Girls Club of Chicago celebrated the Chinese New Year. Hundreds came and took part in a show of unity.
When I started last year, at the beginning, it's only like introduce our culture to the other race.
But in just 1 year, the Chinese New Year celebration evolved into a festival of cultures that highlight the diversity of Chicago's Bridgeport neighborhood.
I hope that it opens your eyes and your hearts to the other cultures, the other people in the neighborhood, and we all become much more understanding and tolerant, and we build an even stronger neighborhood as a result.
We celebrate Chinese New Year. We're celebrating St. Patrick's Day. This is what's great about our country and our people. And if you look around you, our country is made up of many faces, many people, many religions, many ethnicities.
And that's how it should be. Everyone should be united together.
Here you could see different races having fun while watching a traditional lion dance, hip-hop, Asian students dancing to the Latin beat, and the principal of Healy Elementary School bopping her head to the Chinese fan dance.
Fantastic. It was absolutely great to see all the different cultures get together.
I like the cool dragons.
Everything is important because the neighborhood, everything has to correlate with each other, and this is just great to combine all kinds of cultures together.
We need this kind of program so they can help the young folks to understand the other people from different countries.
No doubt there was a lot of dancing, but Officer Choi says, despite the different music and colors of our skin,
We are very similar also. So in the long run, I hope we can live in peace, because this is a community with all different peoples. We got all different races. You can see it today.
Ingrid Yanada, AAN News.
The Silk Road Theater just got its latest production up and running. Golden Child, written by a renowned Asian American, features an Asian American cast. AAN's Elaine Lowe brings us with an exclusive interview with playwright David Henry Hwang and Silk Road co-founder Jamil Khoury.
Based on the life of David Henry Hwang's great-grandfather,
Golden Child is a story of family, history, and change, in which a man with old traditions and 3 wives converts to Christianity.
Well, one of the things that the family is dealing with in this play is China and change. China as it relates to the West, as it relates to modernity, and how do you incorporate these things that when traditions change and new traditions are taken on, what's gained and what's lost. And I think that when the show has been done, for instance, in Asia, in Singapore, that the modern Asian audiences related to this very closely also, because we're all, whether we're living in the West or Asians living in Asia, dealing with adapting to a changing world, and that's what the play is about.
Set in pre-revolutionary China, it's also a play about women and the changing times.
Now your pleasure should be just about ready to explode.
I've been living among the Christians, remember?
What does that have?
They consider abstinence a great virtue.
Says who?
It's a play about hybrid identities. It's a play about identity in flux. It's a play about gender relations, and I think it's a very feminist play. And that's something else about the play that I was really drawn to, was that there's a strong statement about status of women, questioning that status, subverting that status, reinforcing that status, so forth. So there's a thread throughout the play that really concerns the evolving role of women in China.
Well, one of the things I think I was trying to do in the play was write pre-revolutionary Chinese women in a different way. Because if you think about the way that that these women have been portrayed, even in wonderful movies like Zhang Yimou's Raise the Red Lantern, they always seem incredibly kind of victimized and beaten down by their circumstances. And it's unquestionable that the status of women, particularly before the Chinese Revolution, was horrible in China. And that doesn't mean they weren't people. That doesn't mean they weren't still fighting to improve their lot as much as possible, that they weren't smart, that they weren't funny. And that's a portrayal of pre-revolutionary Chinese women that I hadn't seen before.
If there's one thing Huang wants audiences to go home with, it's that some things transcend both time and culture.
I think it'd be great if audiences who came to see Golden Child could watch a story of a people and a historical period that they thought was very different from themselves. Pre-revolutionary China, a polygamous family, ancestor worship, bound feet, all those things. Walk in thinking that that's a family very different from themselves, and walk out feeling that it's a family very much like their own.
Golden Child runs through April 22nd at the Silk Road Theater Project at 77 West Washington. Elaine Lowe, AAN News.
Thank you for choosing AAN, your Asian news leader. If you have any questions about our show or have story ideas, write us at our email, AAN41chicago@AOL.com. Catch a rebroadcast Tuesday mornings at 8, and tune in next Monday night where we'll introduce you to Cook County Court's 2 newest Asian American judges. I'm Lily Kim. Thank you, and see you next time.